Hello, folks. It's time to check in with State Representative Tacky Chan of Quincy for a Tacky Talk. Back on a Tuesday, Tacky.
Yeah, it's Tacky Tuesdays again, and we got the memo to wear the same color shirt.
I was gonna say it's blue shirt day here at Tacky Talk Day.
I need a QA TV shirt myself, and then we could be truly brothers on a YouTube show together.
Oh, I'd be happy to get you one. Not a problem. What size? We're all
I'm
the
a,
same
I'm a,
size.
yeah, I'm a large. We should do trading places when you come to the house and I'll go to the studio.
Oh, that would be funny. That would really confuse people. Of course, I could always do a split screen here on a Zoom call. How's things been going?
It's been busy. Those who are watching a television, blew up your screen on Zoom can see I nicked myself a bit. So he's made this is not a problem on the screen regarding my chin. I have a bandage on. Like many men that have this experience where your manual razor catches a piece of skin, and yeah, it was a little more serious than I expected.
Oh, it was not a barroom brawl then. Okay.
No, no, I look better after a ballroom brawl.
Yes, we can all sympathize. So thank you for shaving for AM Quincy. We appreciate that.
I'm surprised I clean up for you, buddy. I'm just saying. I mean, I was surprised I shaved for you at COVID. I think it's the only excuse I had shaving when we were COVID together. It's like, well, I got to get on Joe's show. That means I have to shave today. I think I didn't shave for like 4 days at a time until QATV came up. I'm like, oh yeah, it's show day. I got to shave with Joe.
See, that's good. Gives you incentive to get yourself put together.
Yeah, you encourage my hygiene during COVID lockdown. Uh, People, this,
Uh,
this is what I had to look good for essentially 6 months of at home by myself with mom. So
that's right. That's right. Because
I
she
look
wouldn't
good for
care.
Joe. Yeah, I look good for Joe. That's what I did for 6 months. Look good for him.
All right. Well, if that's the meaning for my existence, then I'll take it. That's fine. We're in the middle of a AAPIH month, right?
We're halfway through. It's May 14th, about 11:09 a.m. according to my laptop on a almost 70-degree sunny day in Quincy. And we continue to encourage folks to do Shop AIP Month, the House Asian Caucus's challenge for fourth year running, to promote business owners that are Asian American, Pacific Islander, Hawaiian, that doesn't have to be in Quincy. It'd be nice it is, but it's have to be in Quincy. And please put them on social media and with the hashtag Shop AAPI Month. And you want to tag the Asian Caucus or myself on Twitter, X at Tacky Chan, or State Representative Tacky Chan Facebook, or now we have Instagram, which I believe is also at Tacky Chan. Which I'm not sure actually. It's tied to the Facebook account, so it should be at State Representative Tacky Chan.
Okay.
But regardless, I mean, you don't have to tag me. But we do encourage folks to please visit a business in there that they like that's Asian owned, and so you can get a social media post and encourage some folks to learn about a new business and promote them this month.
Mhm.
So, but it is a bit of a busy month for me. We got a lot of different things going on. And yesterday, Sunday, was it Sunday or Saturday? Saturday was the Quincy Multicultural Festival.
Yes.
So I stopped in there. That was a wonderfully done event for its third year at Pageant Field. The weather was a little windy and it was a bit misty, but it's great seeing some folks. And honestly, I have rarely seen the roof go in an amphitheater look this good. A lot of people in there. The acoustics were great. I've not been up in Pageant Field in recent days, and the city's done an incredible job maintaining and upgrading the field. The ballpark location is wonderful. The covered area, the built-in fire pits. Wonderful job by the city's park department on upkeep, and people had a lot of fun. So, it was good to see folks. And of course, I am in running for re-election, as you know, and I had my kickoff event on Thursday. And most people don't realize that when you fundraise, you have to do a lot of database entry. You have to identify funds, there's campaign finance limits. I'm in right now in compliance mode. I think, for lack of a better term, is part of my month of doing the work to ensure that all my accounts are in compliance. It does take some time to put it together. People think it's just like just deposit checks and go. Well, there's a whole lot of disclosures I got to make sure are properly in place in case Office of Campaign Finance asks a question. I have to have those answers ready. So I'm not one of those guys that they dig around for an answer. It's like, everything's prepped in case there's a question mark, and it's taken care of. And then we're going to have a few sessions coming up the next couple of weeks. We got it looks like we're doing the information technology bond bill on Wednesday, which I think will be pretty smooth debate. It's what it sounds like. It's information technology infrastructure for the Commonwealth. And then Thursday is much more complicated. It's looking like we're going to do cost containment regarding healthcare, specifically hospitals, specifically trying to address the imbalances associated with different aspects of the healthcare industry and their financial contributions to such. Yeah, that's a very vague set of words. There's no other way for me to describe it. And speaker, as I like to say over and over again, understands healthcare much better than I do. You want to talk about energy, I'm your guy. You want to talk about how to license XYZ thing, I'm your guy. You want to know how you got wine to your house, I'm happy to explain it. But when it comes to healthcare, it's much more complex, and I don't pretend to be an expert. But I do know just enough to know the basics of what's going on. So we scheduled a very long caucus on Wednesday to talk about not just the IT bond bill, but definitely about this healthcare reform. Speaker and John Long, who's the healthcare finance chair, and Marjorie Decker, who's the public health chair, and Jamie Murphy from Weymouth, who's the financial services chair. He does insurance companies as part of banks and insurance. So expect there's going to be a lot of conversation and caucuses to try to unravel, how can we basically help save our community hospitals? What are we doing with Steward Healthcare, if we can do anything with Steward Healthcare, which I'm not sure myself. And also continue to prop up our community health centers and try to see if we can get any more cost containments down, because again, the cost of healthcare is high. But it's a very intricate process. I wish it was a simple consumer just pays, but it isn't. You got these insurance companies, you got competing interests in different industries, and we got for-profits such as Shields MRI, Quest Diagnostic. I mean, a lot of these for-profit entities are contracted out, and you're probably not even realize that's kind of part of what's going on here. It's not necessarily just not-for-profit healthcare, but you also got for-profit entities in specialized care that you pay your insurance costs to, you pay your co-pays to the insurance company, it pays them, or you pay them directly, and then your insurance covers the rest. So it's much more intricate. Oh, and you got the pharmacies on top of everything else, movement of medication. So I'm not sure exactly what's we're doing on Thursday, but I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be complicated. So once I get my fact sheets, we can talk about it next time.
Okay. All right, fair enough. And yeah, as we've talked about before, the biggest chunk of the state budget, right, is for Medicaid.
Yeah, Medicaid, Medicare, Mass Health, I use them as almost, they're not exactly the same, but I use them almost kind of like cross terms, because it's basically all one part of the budget. It's like $20.9 billion out of a $56, $58 billion budget.
I think it's 58. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have like essentially almost $5 billion off budget out of the 58. So, yeah, it's a substantial amount of money. I mean, it's clearing 30% of the budget, and it's fixed cost. Right. So, there's not much we can do about it. It's like to say that if you want to campaign against healthcare, you're campaigning against your mom, your grandma, your granddad, your dad, and you're campaigning against yourself, because all of us is contributing to the system, the Medicare system. And hopefully we're all going to be a participant in Medicare at some point.
Right, exactly, yeah. That's how it was designed.
Yeah, so I mean, even though it's a split cost, Medicare is a split cost between the feds and the state, but if I remember correctly, in your paycheck, you're paying Medicare to the feds.
That's right. Yes.
We pick up, taxpayers in Massachusetts pick up 50% of that cost. So your state taxes also go to your long-term Medicare needs, which is Mass Health. And of course, Medicare Part B, which is not part of Mass Health, which is a whole separate. Medicare Part D, C, and B is a whole separate conversation.
Right. Yep. Those are the companies. Yeah.
Yeah, but your tax dollars, both your FICO, the Social Security, Medicare part, and your state income tax and your sales tax, use tax dollars, go to um healthcare. And
Hmm.
this is kind of those weird things you gotta realize about paying it forward, right? I'm paying my mom, for an easy example, Mass Health, Medicare. When
Right.
I
Yeah. And younger people are paying for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, oh, we cut the budget, pick the biggest thing. Well, this is the biggest thing you can cut. And you're really gonna cut yourself in the long run. And, we don't want a deficit, otherwise you run into a social security problem, which they revised the number of when social security could potentially run out, right?
Yeah, they need to fix that. Just that they need to address that.
Yeah, Congressman Lynch question. And,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
you can ask the congressman and Senator Markey, Senator Warren about their thoughts of the matter, but I'm very curious what people in the public think about social security, because they all talk about concerns that won't be there, but no one wants to offer a solution to how to keep it around.
Oh, the solution is easy. Just make Congress participate in it.
Well, it would be good if they were shared costs. Most people don't realize that I don't pay Social Security, so I don't qualify for Social Security. I'm paid in the state pension system like a lot of public employees. For me to get Social Security, I need essentially 30 years of work in paying Social Security, which is not going to happen at my age.
Right.
And the other thing is that the pension system, in my case, is a fixed annuity.
Mhm.
So the cost of living adjustment is not tied to the totality of your benefits, tied to the so-called minimum amount of the pension, which I believe is around $18,000. So it's 3% against that if the legislature chooses to do so. There's no automatic mechanism, uh, unlike Congress, where each Congress doesn't touch the cost of living adjustment. It's actually built into the price of inflation.
Right.
Public pension programs are not tied to inflation. It's at the will of the legislature whether or not to provide a 3% or 6% or whatever percentage COLA, but it's not against the amount you pay, you benefit from. It's the amount of the first $18,000, which in many cases only comes up to like few $100s a year. I mean,
Hmm.
generally most years about $360 a year adjustment. Sometimes it gets to like 550.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in this inflationary period that we've been in. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and it's not reflective of how Social Security works. People have a lot of misconceptions that the pension system is great. It is great, but at the same time, though, you will not see the cost of living adjustments done the same way that the Fed is just subject to the approval of the legislature. And the legislature can be fickle depending on the fiscal cycle.
This is true. Yeah. So save your pennies, Tacky. Save your shekels.
Oh, I've been hoarding money into retirement accounts since I was basically 26 years old.
Yeah.
So, if you're younger and should get into a Roth, or your employer's 457, I mean, if you're a government employee, 457 or 403, if you're a not-for-profit, or 401, if you're a for-profit entity. I mean, if you set aside $50 or $100 a month, when you're in your early 20s, and when you get to your 50s and 60s, that money could quadruple in value. It's the benefit of low compounding, small compounding. So if you're aggressive in investment in your early 20s, because you don't need the money right away, you can ride the ups and downs. You could find yourself quadrupling small amounts of money down the road.
Hmm.
And of course, as you get older, you want to get more less interested in ups and downs and try to find ways to create more less rocky investments. But they don't teach this anymore in financial literacy. I do understand it's very tough. The cost of living is very high. Inflation's high. It's hard on every dollar. But even say squirrel away $50 per paycheck, to a retirement account of any kind, and you aggressively invest, that and then you squirrel it a little bit more, every so many years, it adds up. And not like I'm going to, be a multi-millionaire by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm hedging against inflation. I'm trying to do that since I was 25, 26.
Yep, yep. You're right. They don't teach it, at least not thoroughly. Maybe brushed over in economics class or something, but not specifics.
Well, actually, that's part of learning lessons of my job, right? When I worked for Michael Morrissey, he was public service chair, which was all the governmental pension and benefits and all those laws. And we used to get calls a lot from folks regarding the challenge of making costs. So I worked for him took a lot of calls like in 1998, 1999, but I was hearing from pensioners that retired in like 1988. And, they retired at between 60 and 65 and now approaching 80. And they discovered that their pension's great, but it's a fixed cost.
Mhm.
Property taxes went up, as you all know. And then the cost of living also went up. And they found out it was getting more difficult to make ends meet. And they were looking to see if there were other programs available for seniors regarding trying to bring their costs down, whether it be a city tax abatement program or, now we have the senior circuit tax break for property owners who meet certain income levels, which again, let you all know, you can still apply for it even after tax day. You can file amended taxes. You can do 3 years of amended taxes if you're over, if you're over age 65 from 3 years ago. Just because tax season's over doesn't mean you cannot qualify for the senior circuit property tax credit. So this might plug again, that you can amend your taxes to get that benefit. It is cash, you get a check. So, that's why we create these kind of programs out there for seniors to try to help them out at that level, at the state level over the past, 25, 30 years. So, I learned that lesson at a very young age, taking all these phone calls from folks that have been retired 10, 15 years at a fixed cost, trying to look for help and finding ways to deal with the fact that you're on fixed annuity and no security.
So last week, Tacky, I remember I gave you some homework.
Yeah, I forgot.
You're supposed to say the dog ate it.
Well, how about the wind blew it away? We'll blame the weather.
Blame the weather. Okay. But I was hoping we'd be able to talk about a little bit about the ballot questions.
Sure.
Specifically, the one that's in the news this week is the app-based drivers issue.
Yeah, we've been talking about this on and off the last 6 months. It is wicked confusing. And even internally, the building, the advocacy has gotten a little bit confusing because you have different interests, and even among the unions. I'm not entirely clear if all the local unions are all on the same page on this because I'm hearing from different unions on their position. The FL seems to have adopted a uniform position, but it is not the position of the ballot question. And if there's such an advocacy that there's a so-called compromise position or agreed upon position from these different groups, then the ballot question should go away. And they should focus on the legislature to push for their initiative. I've seen no indicator that the ballot initiative is going away. It may, but I'm not seeing it. So obviously the deadline is passed for the legislature to get to the governor's desk to put in law any of the ballot questions. So the ballot questions have to get another 10,800 some odd signatures or something like that, certified and put to Secretary of State by, I believe, mid-August.
Sounds right.
Yeah, early mid-August. So they're collecting more signatures. And in the case of the ride-sharing issue, it's really about the definition of what's an independent contractor and what's an employee. That's the end of the line question. In Massachusetts, the definition of an independent contractor is set mostly by case law, not by statute. So this is why it's such a messy thing because it's not always clear. So the law school, we'll give you the law school version, right? This is what they teach you in a textbook, not in real life. Is that, in the textbook, an independent contractor is not paid by an employer independent contractor is not an employee of an employer. And the employer is not responsible for healthcare benefits, any kind of benefits, and also not responsible for taking out unemployment taxes, Social Security, Medicare. They don't pay any shared costs. Your employer pays half the cost of Social Security, for example. If you're an independent contractor, you pay 100% of cost of Social Security.
Right. You get a 1099 at the end of the year, and you base it on that.
Yeah, and then you write your check to the IRS, which actually includes all the FICO stuff. So you have to pay your own Medicare. You have to pay your own Social Security. You have to pay the whole nut. You don't just pay your half. So the condition in the textbook, folks, not the real life, is that the employer can't tell you you can't work for someone else. the employer is looking for an outcome. You can contract, for example, hours of work, but at the same time, though, they can't make you work you more than hours contracted. And it's a set time of delivery of payment on conditions, 25% complete, 1/3 complete, there's a deposit, time frame for completion. And then, the contractor can, when they're done working the contract, can go find work in the same area that they work for the prior employer. So for example, if you're a roofer, you do roofs, your employer can't prohibit you from doing other people's roofs. You can fix more roofs while doing this one home. You could do like 7 homes at the same time. Employer can't say, you can't do any more roofs, right?
Because you're an independent contractor, right?
That's correct. So this is kind of the textbook definition, right? You can't tell them, the employee doesn't pay any type of benefits. The employee is responsible for the whole none from taxes to Social Security. The employee is not prohibited from doing other work for other people as long as it's not a violation of the contract. And there's no anti-competitive component because you're working in a specific field as a contractor, so the employee cannot put an anti-competitive component.
Yeah, I mean, people, I'm sure, work for Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash all at the same time.
That's correct. And then there's agreed upon conditions of how of what the expectations are, right? Deposit, there's payment certain time periods, set up by contract. When you accomplish X, you get Y. I mean, there's all these conditions that the responsibility is employee, or comes from a contractor or contractee regarding what the expectations are, right? Now, I'm oversimplifying this, folks. Just be very aware of this. This is what they teach you in law school. In real life, there's a lot more nuances because it isn't always that simple, right? There's a difference between a contractor that works as your accountant. For example, let's say you bring in an accountant to audit your accounts and you bring them as a contractor because you only need that audit for 6 weeks, for example, right? There's a different circumstance than someone building you a roof or building you a deck, which is also different from having a landscaper, which is different from having rideshare. And rideshare is the most complicated of that group because it defies the textbook definition of independent contractor because, as you pointed out, yeah, you can work from rideshare services, but you're using a platform to find potential work and that you contract with the platform. It's almost like dating, online dating in a weird way, right? And then, the people looking for you to drive them choose who you want to drive, and then the employer, has things like ratings and number of rides and how long you've been doing this, on the app. And you can make a decision for multiple ones. You can say reject, and then the next one pops up. But the algorithm of the rideshare determines the first one that pops up on your phone. I mean, you see all those little cars on your app, and it's like whatever number of them, and then but you only get one show up on your phone at a time, and it's always like the closest one, the shortest time period. But then you get like choices of like, we use Uber for the sake of ease, Uber X, Uber economy, luxury, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Different times of different costs. And the algorithm like has this whole thing going on. The AI in Uber's, trying to pitch you sort of on different ones without identifying the individual. It's like, pick these different styles. And depending, is the employer actually, is that an employer-employee relationship, right?
Right.
And it gets really quirky because the app has so much, the artificial intelligence, the algorithm has so much say on customer influence of what you pick. However, unless you violate the terms of agreement, naming the contract, the customer actually can result in you losing your job because you don't maintain a certain level of star rating. Under your contract, you can be terminated.
So the contract is between the customer and the driver?
Yeah, because I just hired an independent contractor to drive me the distance.
Okay.
But I use a platform to do it, which is Uber in this case.
See. Okay.
But I mean, Uber, and there's a contract between the Uber and the rideshare.
Right.
Well, the rideshare driver has no ability to find a customer.
Right, and that's the only service they provide, right? It is a ride sharing service. It's not like they're providing, house painting or roofing or anything else. That's all they're doing.
Yes, and it gets a little quirky because we did pass a law in this state, and we're not the only state regarding rights and responsibilities of rideshare regarding liabilities and ensure that the rideshare driver, is not a criminal and a safe driver to the best of our ability. Of course, there's never 100%
Yeah.
guarantee, but we try to reduce the possibility of having a dangerous driver that's driving around and reduce the possibility the person, could do you harm.
Sure.
Again, life isn't 100% guaranteed, but try to reduce as much as possible licensing the drivers. And then, require the rideshare companies to carry different levels of insurance to ensure that, God forbid there's an accident, there's sufficient coverage
Mhm.
for the passengers and also for the driver. But also the driver, if there's an accident, the insurance is picked up by the rideshare, require $1 million of coverage by the rideshare company when the rideshare driver is actually working.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Yep.
So it isn't the ride shared car insurance that picks up, God forbid, anything bad happening. So this,
Right.
yeah, this thing is really complicated because
Yeah.
unlike the description earlier regarding hiring an accountant, for example, to do your forensic audit for 6 weeks, this is a profession that's like indefinite time period,
Right.
right? And it's subject to contract, so there's no end to contract. It's like you can stay on this as long as you meet the terms of agreement. I mean, you don't kill people, not dangerous public. You maintain your certain ratings. You come through and doing all these requirements that are asked of you in the contract between Uber and you, but there's no end date.
Yeah. So why does the state want them to be considered employees and employers? What's the
Well, we're
incentive?
not. We're not. I mean,
Okay.
the legislature, has several proposals out there of varying types to try to create hybrid employees.
Yeah.
And then the ballot question comes from a segment of drivers. They don't represent all the drivers that are pushing for this similar issue to try to create these weird new definitions in a contract specific to rideshare. Like I said, rideshare is very peculiar because one of the key parts, and I'll say again, does not have an end date on contract.
Mm.
So it isn't
Doesn't the
like the
contract end when the ride ends? I mean, when you get to your
between,
destination?
between the consumer and the driver,
Yeah.
but there's no contract termination time between the rideshare company, the
I
Uber,
see.
and the driver.
I see.
So it's like, it's like old Major League Baseball contracts before there was a union. You were basically locked into that contract for life and treated like
Right,
a
right,
commodity.
right, 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 right.
Athletes have unions because one time you could never leave the team to find better money.
Okay.
You were locked in forever. You don't, a contract does not has a period of time that actually has an end. Well, most contracts, unless you're married, then
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Well, even that can end by another contract.
Yeah, take it from the single people on the call here.
That's right.
We're aware of that contract has no end date. But but
Okay.
but yeah, this is different because the conditions, there's conditions of maintaining the contract.
Right.
So there's no end of the contract, but if you meet these conditions and consistently meet them and you don't violate terms of contract, the contract is still continuous
Yep.
between the driver and the
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you only work like an hour a week.
That's correct.
Yeah.
As long as you meet the contractual terms.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, of course, you can still terminate, for example. The driver doesn't have to work forever. Unlike sports teams back in the pre-World War II period, before the unionization of sports teams, of athletes, you're no longer indentured, so to speak, to that team forever.
Right.
So same thing here. I mean, if I'm a driver and decide, oh, I've had enough of you, I'm going to terminate. Well, termination clause is there. It's just the unique thing is that there's no time end. So, you're employed by QATV. It isn't, you're an employee, you get your W-2, but there's but your employee doesn't say that, well, your W-2 is only good for 4 weeks.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you don't have a contractual agreement other than the human resource components, right? You still have to do, company policies to maintain your employment violation, these policies, unless they're proven unreasonable or discriminatory. If the reasonable standards, then you can maintain your employment unless extraordinary circumstances apply that results in your termination. So, the case of rideshare, the contractor, which is Uber, has conditions of termination, of which one is the rating button, which is why they're always trying to get you to push to 5 because it keeps them employed. And then, but the rideshare contractee can decide, well, I'm done with this. Just get out. So this gets weird because most of the contractors, unless the specific clauses, there's a time frame of completion, and the completion is done, and the relationship is terminated because you complete the job, and until if the contractor does not pay you, well, the contract isn't complete yet.
Right. Yeah, it's like, yeah, there's a third party involved, so that complicates things. Yeah.
It actually complicates it. This is very different.
Yeah. It's not like hiring a contractor and when the job is done and you're all paid up, that's the end of the contract. Yeah.
Yeah, and I described the basic, textbook version of independent contractor. I think all of us have maybe some experience with that at some level of our lives at one point. But rideshare is a totally different critter from conventional textbook definition of independent contractor. So what the other questions are trying to describe is kind of hybrid, where you get all the benefits of being an independent contractor in the sense that you control your own hours, you have no responsibilities to the rideshare, you can end your contract at any time, and all that other stuff that you enjoy as an independent contractor, but you're also treated as an employee in some form where you get health benefits, vacation benefits, they do the Social Security and all that other stuff. I mean, to be honest, folks, what employee wouldn't love the ability to set their own hours, terms of employment, and receive all the benefits from the employer without the employer telling what to do specifically?
Yeah, it's a dream job, right?
The dream job. People would love to get all the benefits they're receiving now without the ability of the employer to tell you when to show up at work.
Right. I see. Okay. Interesting.
So and then the hourly wage system is like they want minimum wage. So, okay, well, if you get no rides that day at all, you get paid a salary as if your minimum wage if you can't find anyone to work.
Right. So this is why the companies are lobbying against it and drivers are lobbying for it.
Or the drivers lobby against it too, because they don't want to be considered more of the employee situation. Because if the ride share goes, okay, you want to be employees, let's make you employees. We're going to set hours. We're going to treat you more like a conventional livery service, because livery services, may have contractors or they may have employees depending on what service you are. Every livery service is different.
Yeah.
Those young folks, livery services like taxis, if you know what a taxi is. I don't know if anybody knows what a taxi is if you're past a certain age.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, if you're under a certain age, you not know what I'm talking about anymore. Do they shift gears and say, okay, well, you want to be an employee, we're going to treat you like employees? The answer is I don't have an answer for you, as you can hear, because on the one side, why wouldn't we all enjoy the benefits of full-time employment with no employer oversight?
Exactly. Pick and choose. Maybe you don't work at all and still get paid. Yeah, that'd be ideal.
Well, you get benefits whether you show for work or not, right?
Right.
On the flip side, obviously, the question is, what kind of contractual relationship, is there? Do you want to, is that a contractual relationship that's unfair? Again, you pointed out, you could still work for other employers. So, let's say I work for DoorDash, Lyft, and Uber. Do I receive 3 minimum wages? Do I receive 3 vacation benefits? Do I receive 3 things? And the advocate's going to tell you no, because, but I don't understand how you don't, because what do you say? Well, show me your Uber time slip showing that they're paying for these benefits. But Uber's like, yeah, but you're working for Lyft. Why am I paying benefits when you should be doing the same?
Right. Yeah, it'd be like me going to work for 2 other TV stations, Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay your salary if you're doing that. And you can all hear hopefully understand the complexity of the thing I'm trying to explain. It's like you're working. It's not like working like part-time jobs for multiple employers, right? If you're working part-time jobs, you don't get benefits.
Right.
But it is an employee-employee relationship. Understand you only work X number of hours. And a lot of us had full-time and part-time jobs, right? But you're not doing 2 at the same time. I can have both phones going, get my 2 phones going at once regarding, Lyft and an Uber at the same time.
Right.
There's nothing says you're exclusive. But you also can't be physically 2 places at once. If I'm doing, one retail store and, at the evening I do another retail store. A
Yeah,
lot
no,
of
it seems to me some state police got in trouble for trying that.
Yeah, there's a few public employee stories we could tell that in the past that got in trouble for things like this. But you can look up in the news, folks. We don't have to tell you the story. It's easy
That's
enough.
right.
Yeah, you can find it on the internet, believe me. But no, seriously, I mean, it's like, all of us are part-time jobs, right? You have a full-time employer, part-time employer, and some folks get more than one part-time job. I mean, I have constituents who are in that working lower middle income area and call us for help. And you listen to the story, and they're sometimes working to three part-time jobs, 10 hours here, 20 hours there, 20 hours another place, trying to make ends meet. They receive no benefits. But at the same time, though, I mean, there's no vacation benefits or anything like that. But
Mhm,
they,
mhm,
they,
mhm.
they are working. We also get a full-time job. You could potentially get a second full-time job. I don't know how they would manage that, but as long as they don't overlap,
Right,
then
exactly.
employers, are not going to worry. And if there's a problem, unless they get hurt on a job on one employer's site, the other job you have isn't picking up that tab. It's just the place that you were working at that point during those work hours.
Wow.
So
I can't wait. If it makes it on the ballot, I can't wait to see the question description in that red booklet that comes out from the Secretary of State's office.
well, the advertising is going to be very challenging. It's going to be very hard to explain to people.
Yes, I agree.
Unless you're in this industry working it, it's hard for us who are not working it to understand how this works. And I even have a very hard time explaining this to you because
Right.
I'm still trying to, I understand the basic mechanics of the very basic mechanics of the business model uh, because there's three kinds of relationships, right? Between the Uber and the driver.
Mhm.
Then you have the relationship between the ride passenger and the driver, but the passenger has an indirect relationship to the driver via the Uber app system.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Uber is responsible in some extent to the passenger, to me as a customer, assuring the safety of the ride.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Not an easy question to decipher for sure.
No, it's not. This is again very complicated because it's not like other independent contract relationships. It's not like other employee-employee relationships. It's been about a very unique business model that is very difficult to understand because you have multiple obligations
Mm.
between three parties that are contracted via the app, via the platform, via the driver. And there's, some implicit contracts, like you expect to get to the other location safely, right? That is kind of an implicit expectation. You don't expect to have an injury. Now, traffic and stuff, yeah, I mean, that's real life, right? This is Boston. You know what we're talking about in traffic, right? But I mean, there's also implicit contract that if you get into the car, you will be safely transported.
Right. Yep.
Now, that responsibility in the state level regarding the insurance component is on the ride share to ensure there's sufficient insurance coverage and not covered by the driver's insurance. Obviously, when the driver's off duty and doing their own car usage for themselves, then obviously then their own personal insurance picks it up. But the car maintenance, fuel, car safety, car everything you see
Mhm.
is responsibility of the driver, does not belong to the ride share. And it's that whole cost of doing business is part of the driver's cost, which is part of being an independent contractor. And
That's
again,
right.
it's messy. It's not as simple as it sounds.
Right. Right. How about psychedelic mushrooms?
Yeah, actually, in the Boston Globe, I read that a opposition ballot question has formed.
Oh,
Office of Campaign Finance have formed an opposition ballot question for some doctors that are opposing this. Um, I can't explain how this works. There's a lot of confusion. This continues to confuse us. I actually talked to a couple of friends who are very interested in this because there is John Hopkins is doing a bunch of studies on this issue and whether or not, proper use of psychedelics is good for treating a lot of mental illness, especially depression. Um,
mm,
and seems to be some positive research, but more research is necessary. And to have it, try to get psychedelics probably as a controlled substance, not to have you growing a patch in your backyard like marijuana. Um, Although marijuana growing is a lot harder than people realize. But
mm,
so the idea, but there's all kinds of like weird positions or like how it's actually regulated. Grow your own mushrooms. I mean, it gets kind of funky, and people who are medical researchers, will tell you that this is not stuff you play with independently. It needs to be medically diagnosed and proper medical dosage. But it's not like a big pharma company yet,
Mhm,
that are psychedelics.
mhm.
So, I don't pretend to understand how psychedelics work. In fact, obviously, it's a chemical reaction. You can find certain types of mushrooms that probably could be simulated in a laboratory at some point,
Mhm.
uh, probably at an easier, lower cost than than have to grow a bunch of mushrooms. Um, but it's one that I think the voters are going to have a lot of are going to have a difficult time with because no one's going to understand what's going
Right.
on. And again, it's also negative, more of a negative connotation regarding psychedelics than over marijuana.
It was, well, people of our generation, yeah, remember the LSD of the of the 70s and just, all the bad trips that folks had on that stuff.
Yeah, well, things like LSD is back in the research world again to help deal with mental illness, but not the LSD of the 70s. Totally different chemical reveal. Uh,
Mm.
Whether it becomes part of the mental health treatment, maybe, but it's
Mm.
going to take a lot more research. And psychedelics, like I said, is being researched, but the researchers have not gone out and said we should legalize this and this
Mhm,
we should
mhm.
do it yet. And everyone hates big pharma, but I mean, you need the research capacity to figure out, what's going on beyond just the schools, because the schools, can receive grants from big private companies, right, to figure it out. But this is a field that I think the voters are going to have a hard time with because the negative connotation of psychedelics and actually understanding what the ballot question does regarding regulation of psychedelics.
Right.
And I can't understand what they're trying to
That's
do.
the biggest challenge is, what does my vote do? What does my yes vote do? What does my no vote do? That's the biggest challenge, I think.
Yeah, agreed. And like I said, I don't quite understand what's going on here in terms of how you would regulate, what conditions you regulate, who would get to grow these, how would be dispensed,
Hmm.
what medical like like people would like to know what to prescribe for dosage.
Hmm.
How would you prescribe for dosage for something that pretty much there's not a lot of experience in the medical community because this
Oh,
thing was basically stopped in the 70s.
right. Right.
Marijuana is a little different. Marijuana, the THC stuff. I mean, there is medical research, but it's a totally different strain of marijuana, which is why a lot of medical marijuana, it's more reflective of this, frankly, not the great research because it's not the most up to date strains of marijuana, but there's at least some guideposts of understanding what you're not smoking it, you're not eating it, it's a distilled format for the person's medical care. And, it's lower risk of you jumping off a roof, right? It's not a psychedelic.
Hmm.
Like there's no change in, you just get sleepy and hungry. A low probability, almost no probability, you won't, there is no probability of you doing something crazy, under hallucinations or other types of, psychedelic behavior. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'm going to tell the voters going to have a hard time with this because I'm having a hard time with this too.
Yeah. No, exactly. Right. Yeah. What do you think of the governor's plan to use the old prison in Norfolk for the housing crisis?
This is funny. We had actually a conversation about this, about the old prisons. I'm like, oh, the optics of having a pregnant woman and children behind barbed wire fencing is not great visuals by any stretch of the imagination. I don't care where you are in the political spectrum. The idea of having children and pregnant women behind bars and standing behind a wired fence gate is bad optics, period. And I don't think anybody listening to this thinks it's a good idea to put toddlers in prison, right? If you do, well, good luck to you. But I think the vast majority of this, on this listening would think that's just not good. There's
Hmm.
also a reflection of the fact that, the governor's trying to meet her requirements in her cap. She needs to free up hotel rooms. Summertime is coming. Summertime, it's tourist season. And she's looking for a space that's considered suitable for habitation. And I can't claim I know what's inside that prison. But prisons, by definition, needs to be suitable for habitation. Um, and I don't know what's involved in the renovation. I don't know what's involved. Did they take all the bars off the window, off the doors, and put put them as doors. I mean, we know there's a gym in there and things like that. There's, a library. I mean, obviously they have bathroom facilities. Prisons in Massachusetts are not young prisons. They're pretty old structures, a constant rehab. Um, and can you make it more like a campus and less like a prison? And I don't know. I have no idea
Mhm.
how this is going to go. And obviously, the town of Norfolk, I saw on television that the selectmen are like, well, we have no say in the matter. They're
Right.
just, concerned about the impact on the local school system, which is rightful impact. A small town like that suddenly getting another like even 50 children or
Mhm.
even 15 children really screws up their entire finance on the school budget, and also bringing kids in midterm. And someone may need language assistance, which some of these towns are not prepared because they don't get a lot of folks with need a language
Mm.
assistance. And how do you manage that? Those are legitimate town concerns,
Mhm.
and particularly on the children front. And also receiving proper health care. You don't want these kids to bring measles into the school system, right?
Right. Yep.
Vaccinations are important, and things like measles have made a comeback. So, and most young kids today are not vaccinated by measles, which I still think is kind of a mistake. But because measles infections are very low, but it is back. Measles is back. So, um, it's a tough spot. I respect that. I wish I had better answers. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I do understand the optics are terrible. I mean, I would just take down the fencing, period.
I
Just
think
take
that's part of the plan. Yeah.
but the thing on the barbed wire on the fence.
Yep.
But I just start looking to take down fencing, or at
Yeah.
least leave the front gate fence open so it looks
Mhm.
less prison-ish.
Mhm. Mhm.
And also the question is how close they are, because I don't know where this prison is. Generally, prisons are not located in downtowns.
Right.
Right. So how do people, I don't know, get food, right? Where do they go shopping? I mean, are they gonna open the commissary in the prison, and who's gonna run the commissary?
Yeah.
I have all, as you can tell, all these logistical questions, right? Do they let the residents go shopping and then use the kitchen, which is a commissary big cafeteria style kitchen, right? Do you let them run it themselves? Do you have oversight? I mean, I have all these questions I do not have an answer for. A
Yeah.
lot of these are more logistical questions. And of course, exactly, like all communities, particularly the children component, how does it, impact the cost of the town, and will the state step up? And the state will step up because we've been stepping up constantly to address things like, filling the hole in on Chapter 70
Mhm.
is for these communities regarding these children. So, they're coming in, they're
Well, I think
kids.
it's yeah, it's indicative of the fact that there isn't a broad-based plan. It's kind of like putting out fires here and there.
Yeah, I've said this already. The drink out of the fire hose, the frustration in the legislature is we don't understand where the money's going. It's the most cost effective spending the money. The legislature is very concerned about that. We put a lot of guideposts reporting back to the various committees and House and Senate leadership to report back to them, like, what are y'all really doing?
Right.
And what is the plan here? And um, there's a lot of factors in play. Like I said, it's getting warmer, and motels in particular, are part of big tourist season in Massachusetts. Uh, so, like I said, I don't have an easy answer. I understand the dilemma. I'm very respectful of the dilemma, um, but I know I'm also, don't like the idea of putting children in prisons. Yeah, you know, what are we doing here to try to, make it less scary? Um, for folks. Uh, I don't think you want to be put in emergency shelter in a prison.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And it is just the migrants that go in there, or is it going to be Massachusetts residents too? Because
Well, that was unclear. Yeah.
that was unclear. I mean, is a Massachusetts residents going to be in the prison with migrants? That's a good question. You know, as the housing crisis continues, the economy continues to be really wobbly not because we're going to recession, but because costs are like crazy. More Massachusetts residents was already in the shelter system before the migrant crisis began.
Mhm.
And there's that factor on that as well. And I'm not sure the latest data set is. I've not seen anything in the press about it. Kevin's been very, very careful with data right now, because the last time we
Mhm.
heard it was over 40% was Massachusetts residents in the system, not migrants, not just migrants. So 40% of over 7,500 is still a lot of people.
Yep.
So
It's a work in progress for sure.
well, yeah, and like I said, it's I gauge the economy by the human service needs, and if you got 3,000 Massachusetts families, that's a lot of families. It means the economy's having some impact here. Something's going on in the economy.
Right.
So but that's me. I have picked up a few more Quincy, actually somewhat my constituents, referring back to either Bruce or Ron. Um, more unemployment stuff come in last week, about 3 last week.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's also, all these things like, 3 is not a lot. I mean, but you gotta remember, we're a rep district.
Right.
It's not like 3 in a big pot. It's 3
Right.
in a small geographic.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly.
So there's 3, there's more than 3. So they're definitely picking up again. So, but again, I don't think unemployment's gonna crack 4%. I just think there's some rotation of constant people getting on and off unemployment. Steady number means people getting on and off steady.
Right.
Going
Yeah.
up means there's a lot of new people on. Going off means when it goes down a lot means not a lot of people getting the system.
Right. Exactly. They come off the rolls. Yeah.
Yeah. So a flat, steady number of very minimal movement on percentage means that there's a constant rotation on,
Yep.
on, on, off, on, off, on, off. It means that people are cycling regularly.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
So, I mean, that's how you look at these numbers, if it's steady regarding how this works. You got to think of it that way, not just about the ball number.
We're at the end of the hour, believe it or not.
Oh, time flies fast in the middle of May.
Indeed, it does.
I got
Here.
busy week. I got busy week coming up. Actually, I got to go to a ribbon cutting today. Is Hancock Park has a dialysis center opening up. I'm going to stop in and say hi and
Oh,
to a ribbon cutting. And yesterday I was at the Mass Readers Association. They're doing a conference there. I was a guest speaker, so I had to go to Foxborough yesterday, and we have session tomorrow. Law Day is tomorrow.
that's right.
White House. I'm going to stop in there before I go into the office, so it might be a very short stay at Quincy District. I probably stick around for a little bit, but I gotta have to drive back in to State House for caucuses, and I have like a couple of meetings set up, and then Thursday I have luncheon with Chair Livingston, who shares community development and the small business, and there's obviously another session plus another array of meetings. There's Home for Heroes on Saturday, which is a veterans assistance event. I'm gonna try to come in and say hi on. We have Island of Flag ceremony on Sunday. People want to be at 4 Point Square at 1 o'clock in memory of folks that gave the ultimate sacrifice for freedoms, or or live full lives after making their sacrifice, and remember there as well. So yeah, it's picking up, and the governor's doing their Asian American Pacific Islander Hawaiian month event on Monday the 20th at the State House. So they're doing
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's a lot.
A lot going on. Yeah, she's in
Lot going
Italy
on.
right now, actually.
Is she
Yes,
for work? I wasn't paying attention.
she's giving a keynote speech on at a climate conference in Rome.
I could do a keynote speech.
I'm sure you could, Jackie.
Trust me, folks, even I could pull that one off. No one cares about a little Quincy rep, You know, the Chinese kid, it's fine. No one noticed the little Quincy rep here. I literally could do a climate change speech. It's not that hard. I'm sorry, Governor, but yeah. So yeah, no, but I mean, a lot of stuff going on at home. And just obviously Memorial Day comes up. We can talk about Memorial Day stuff next week in terms of like a full weekend of things. But yeah, it's a lot of activity going on. And we got a cousin coming in June, and I'm apparently in charge of logistics by trying to get the family get together, which she's coming from Hong Kong for conference.
Okay.
A specific request to what she like to meet certain folks in family law issues, particularly with families of children for developmental issues, and also working to adulthood. So I'm now in the process of trying to arrange all this logistics for my cousin at the beginning of June. So yeah.
Jackie, the travel agent. Okay.
Yeah, I get stuck in all these logistical things in the family as well. So I'm gonna be so tired by the time mid-June comes, just trying to manage all this.
Oh, always this time of year, everybody tries to cram everything in before school lets out. I know.
Yeah, oh yeah, graduation season's in June too.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, they're going in, end of May is a huge tourist hit. Again, graduation to colleges. It results in a huge boom in tourism for the local economy. Yeah, it adds to all the different things about trying to get around the city.
Yep.
And it's a long month, right? Because the 31st of May is a Friday.
Yes, there's 5 Fridays this month. So yeah, exactly. Yep.
So with
Okay.
that, our office is open. You will find me there definitely Wednesday and Thursday. Clearly
Okay.
told you guys we have sessions. So room 42 of the State House. Feel free to stop in. Just say hello. And obviously you can call us at 617-722-2370, 617-722-2370. Tacky.chan at nmahouse.gov, tacky.chan at nmahouse.gov. And also State Representative Tacky Chan Facebook account. You can see a couple of businesses I went to on AIP Month in Quincy. You can see some pictures of Roberto and the Pan Asian Cafe. Both of them in North Quincy. So I'm participating in that as well as other places I've been. At Tacky Chan Facebook and some similar letters regarding Instagram now, which the staff told me. MALegislature.gov. Definitely visit the state website. Some things like bills you can look up without my assistance. Welcome to the 21st century. I didn't have those when I started working this.
Right. Everything was on paper. Yeah.
Everything was on paper. I had to get those spreadsheets. So, but yeah, you can look up MALegislature.gov. You can watch the sessions, the hearings, look up bills, all kinds of useful stuff you can do. Obviously, tackychin.org is the reference page for some phone numbers. Obviously, you can see us here on QATV. I got to remember, I got to plug the ferry. The ferry service is open. We can talk about it a bit last time. Bruce did take the ride, and he filled me in on how great it is. We'll talk about that a bit next time about as the warmer months go. We're encouraging ferry service. And of course, listen to Joe in the morning in the AM. I just was looking at my phone a little earlier, and his morning podcast is right up there for your enjoyment.
Thanks a lot, Techie. Always good to talk to you.
Talk to you next week, Joe.